right, the Taliban are back in the headlines. The Taliban hate women. Now, we all knew that, but it's been taken to a whole other level this week when they've announced these new laws. These new laws basically erase women from their society, from Afghanistan. Let me talk to you about them. So these new laws that obviously men have pushed through because women aren't allowed to be in any sort of position of power in Afghanistan, deems that women are not allowed to speak. Yeah. Women's voices cannot be heard in public in Afghanistan. Just let that sink in. So this relates to Article 13. It says it is mandatory for a woman to veil her body at all times in public, and that a face covering is essential to avoid temptation and tempting others. Yeah. Because God forbid a woman shows her face or a pinky finger, and the men of Afghanistan can't control themselves. Those weak people. It also says clothing should not be thin, tight, or short. Muslim women are obliged to cover themselves in front of non-Muslim males and females to avoid being corrupted. Yeah, because Muslim women don't have agency over their own body or mind. They can't think for themselves and make decisions for themselves. What a sad society these people live in. It also goes on to say a woman's voice is deemed intimate and so should not be heard singing, reciting poetry, or reading aloud in public. Basically, women cannot talk in public because, yes, a woman's voice is intimate. These people should work for the US government, the amount of spin they put on these disgusting laws. There's also this Article 19, which bans the playing of music, the transportation of solo female travelers, and the mixing of men and women who are not related to each other. God, this sounds like a terrible place to live. The UN has even come out and slammed the Taliban for this. What my problem is, and what sparked this video, is where is all the backlash? Why am I, as a female conservative commentator, who many people on the left say that I'm against women's rights, feminism, all that stuff, why am I the only one coming out and speaking out against this? Why am I the only one who's so angry about this? Because I've looked at the media and I've seen a few articles, news articles here and there. I haven't seen any opinion articles. I haven't seen anyone coming out and slamming the Taliban or the men of Afghanistan for allowing this to be implemented. Where are those commentators from the ABC, from The Guardian, from all of these leftist niche publications who come out at the drop of a hat and are so quick to condemn the government when they refuse to allow men to go into women's bathrooms, or when they refuse to allow men to swim in a female swimming race? Where are all those people? And I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised, because these are the people who have absolutely no backbone. These issues, the silencing and the erasure of women in a country in our world, is a far bigger issue than allowing transgender people to compete in sport. These are the real issues we need to be talking about, and all of a sudden, they've gone MIA. All of these people who are supposed to be the champion of feminism, of inclusivity, of standing up for women's rights, where are they all? And this is why I say that these activists aren't for women. Like, that ship long passed. People like me are the only ones defending actual women. We're back in the first wave feminism days. These types, these ABC, Sydney Uni, Newtown blue hair types, don't care about women anymore. And that includes these poor Afghani women who will face jail time and much worse consequences that we don't even hear about for simply speaking. Now, I don't know how these activists can sleep at night. They feed their own egos by going to these marches, by waving a pro-Palestine flag, by bringing down Israel, even though Israel is the only country in the Middle East which fights for women's rights. How do you justify that? And I think the reason that they don't fight for the Afghani women is A, because it's just too far away. They don't care about anything that won't get them kudos in their own little bubble. Because of course, all of this activism and protesting is about themselves, is about how much recognition and congratulations they can get for themselves. And if they do protest about what's happening in Afghanistan, it's not going to make the news in Australia because it's just too far away, out of sight, out of mind. But if they protest about that one trans person who wasn't allowed to swim in the local swimming competition, or who wasn't allowed to get changed at the local swim center in the female change rooms, then it will be an uproar because it's very close to home. And everything they do is about the recognition they can get. It's complete narcissism. Number two, they're just scared. They can fight, protest, kick up a stink, all they want in Australia. They can run down the main street, flying flags, setting off flares. They can do whatever they want because they know that there's going to be no repercussions. We are so weak in this country when it comes to punishment for public nuisances. Of course, we should have freedom of speech, but these people take it so far and they know they're going to get away with it. That's why they do it. Here's a great idea. Why don't we send a contingent of women who claim to be the biggest feminists in Australia over to Afghanistan, and they can have a chat with the Taliban and maybe tell them how they should be treating women? Would they do that? No, of course they wouldn't do that because they are shit scared. They know what's going to happen to them over there if they dare speak. And here in Australia, when they're protected, their bark is so loud. They will scream, yell, throw tantrums. They'll say they're not scared of anyone or anything. And that's because they're protected by the Western system of democracy. But let me tell you, that doesn't happen in a place like Afghanistan. And they know that. That's why they won't move there. And that's why they won't move to Palestine as well. That's why they just protest here in safe havens of Australia, America, the UK, while simultaneously berating the West for trying to safeguard ourselves from turning into those countries. Can you even wrap your head around the lack of logic that these people have? And then thirdly, they don't want to be seen as racist. Now, we know for the last few years when woke has become such a massive thing, you aren't allowed to talk about Islam. That is like number one. These activist types will put down females, they'll put down gay people, they'll put down anyone from any race and any religion as long as they're not Islamic. Islam is this untouchable religion, and it's held in such high esteem by the activist types because they're so scared of being labeled racists. But like we saw at the Olympics, go for Christianity and it's full steam ahead. Bash Christianity, mock it, make a joke of it, do whatever you want because it's Christianity. So Christians can't be offended. They've had so much power over the last 1,000 years. But don't touch Islam. We're not allowed to offend them, even if they are committing atrocities like this in the Middle East. It's an absolute joke, and it's just perpetuating this idea that some segments of our society, trans people, Islamic people, which is ironic because obviously Islamic people hate trans people, they just can't be questioned or criticized. Activists would rather turn their back on these poor Afghani women so they don't look like racists. Do you know how effed up that is? And it just exposes them as the frauds that they are.